If you're thinking of quitting your PhD because you feel stuck, worthless, or like you're never going to make it, pause. Because what I'm about to share might be the one reason you decide to stay and finish. And if you've ever doubted whether you're good enough for this journey, you need to hear this. Stay with me. You don't need to win a Nobel Prize to graduate. You don't need to publish in Nature. You don't even need to feel passionate about science every single day to be worthy of finishing. But you do need to understand this one thing if you ever want to cross that finish line without destroying yourself in the process. Before you convince yourself you're failing, let me ask you this. What was the reason you started this PhD in the first place? Let's get something clear right now. Whatever reason you had for starting your PhD, it's enough. Maybe you want that fancy doctor in front of your name. Maybe you love research. Maybe you don't love it every day, but it feels like the right path. Maybe you just don't want to go into industry. Maybe your girlfriend or boyfriend is nearby and you want to stay. Maybe you simply want to prove to yourself or to someone else that you can do it. That reason is enough. You don't need to justify your motivation to anyone. People will say, you have to be passionate about science or you shouldn't be here. No. If you like what you're doing, or even if you just know you have a reason to be here, that's enough to keep going. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. And if you're thinking, but what if I really can't do this? Listen closely. Because it's not what you think. Now let's talk about why you feel like quitting. Because let's be honest, it's not because you're incapable. It's because you're overwhelmed by external factors and you've started to magnify them in your mind. Maybe you had a bad day, your supervisor snapped at you or gave you unreasonable demands, and suddenly you're spiraling. You think, I can't do this. They're unfair. They're using me. You're in your second or third year and switching labs feels impossible. You feel stuck, so quitting feels like the only option. But pause, breathe, zoom out. Ask yourself, is it really as bad as it feels right now, or are you magnifying it because you're exhausted, frustrated, and angry? We often think the problem is them, but more often than not, it's us, how we interpret, how we react, how we process what's happening. And let's be honest, many of us have never been taught how to handle these moments. You're not weak for feeling this way. You're human, and these intense moments don't define your entire journey, no matter how heavy they feel right now. Here's a perspective shift that will change how you see your PhD forever. Listen carefully. No one in this world has infinite power, not even your supervisor. Sure, there may be a power imbalance, but it's not absolute. When you step back and see the bigger picture, you'll realize you can find ways to navigate your situation to your advantage while still meeting lab requirements. Maybe that means managing expectations better. Maybe that means setting clearer boundaries. Maybe it's shifting your mindset so you're not reacting emotionally to every email or offhand comment. Remember, your goal is to graduate. That's it. You don't need to overcommit. You don't need to overact. You don't need to be the lab hero. Your goal is to graduate and move on with your life. And if you think you're not smart enough to finish, let me break that myth for you. You might say, but it's too difficult. I can't do it. Let me be real with you. Doing a PhD requires 0% talent. Yeah, you heard me. If you're gifted, good for you, but it's not required. What's required is showing up every day. Most people can't even do that consistently. Think about it. Everyone knows running is good for your health. But tomorrow morning, if you look outside, you'll see hardly anyone running. Why? Because it's cold. Because the bed is warm. Because we make excuses. We make it difficult in our minds. But if you actually run outside, you don't feel as cold as you thought. In fact, you feel warmer with every step. It's the same with your PhD. You think it's too hard. You think you're not capable. But that's a lie your mind tells you because it's easier to stay warm and comfortable than to step outside and run. Remember, it's not about being a genius. It's about having the courage to try again tomorrow, even if today didn't go well. It's about building quiet consistency, one day, one small action at a time. You might be thinking quitting will fix the pressure, but here's the truth. Why is quitting so common? Because when you're overwhelmed, quitting feels like the easiest way to relieve the pressure. It feels like stepping back into the warmth of your bed, but the outside is not as cold as you think. Quitting is often just avoidance disguised as relief. Avoidance feels safe, but it robs you of the growth you're capable of. And let's be honest, you didn't come this far just to come this far. You didn't put in years of work to walk away without seeing what you're truly capable of becoming on the other side of this process. If you got into graduate school, imposter syndrome or not, you are capable. Knowledge-wise, you have what it takes. You might see a complex paper and think, this is like a foreign language, I'll never get it. Of course, you feel that way. You're like a toddler trying to drive a car. But you can start by crawling, walking, then running, and eventually you'll drive. Newton's laws are the same everywhere. There isn't a secret second version only smart people know. If you want to understand, you will. You don't need high IQ or EQ to survive your PhD. What you need is the willingness to take steps and try. Once you start, you've already done 50% of the work. So what's actually stopping you from finishing your PhD? Here's the real answer. The real problem is not your capability. It's not your supervisor. It's not the system. It's your mindset, and it's your overthinking. We think too much. We let fear and self-doubt paralyze us, and most of what we worry about is unnecessary noise. If you want to do your PhD, do it. Don't let fear, negative feelings, or thoughts of incapability control you. I'm not saying you have to finish your PhD, but if you have a reason to do it and you still want it deep down, don't quit because of fear. Don't quit because you're overwhelmed today. Don't quit because you think you're not good enough, because you are. Finishing a PhD is not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about adjusting your mindset, taking small, consistent steps, and managing your emotions along the way. You can do it if you want to. If you're still here, it means you're fighting for yourself, and I respect you for that. If this video gave you even a tiny push to keep going, like this video so YouTube shows it to other PhD students who need it. Comment below, I will finish, if you're committing to yourself today. And subscribe if you want real honest motivation to get you through your PhD journey without burning out. You don't have to be alone in this. We're building a space here for PhD students to stay grounded, focused, and mentally strong. Remember, you are not alone, and you are capable. You can do this. Peace out.